Okay.
Mike, all set? Everyone all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of December 14th. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I'd just like to, I know we've said it a couple of times, but I wanted to congratulate again Steve Contenti on his winning the administrator's position, and to Andy Tiska for his addition and winning his council seat, and to my colleagues who were re-elected, including Town Clerk Lou Chirillo, Mary Perella, Ed Stewart, and Tim Sweeney. Congratulations to all of you. That was a lot of work, and it showed that the public believed in all of you, so congratulations.
And congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
The first item on this evening's agenda, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
The
Thank you.
next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the submission of minutes of previous meetings, items A, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item C1. This is the second reading for adoption of the Ordinance 2016-15. This is to allow the requested no parking space, one space on Wall Street. And you also have, I'm not quite sure why that's there. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so that is, but it actually belongs in the other one, the late item. So it's just that item, second reading for adoption.
Motion to adopt and approve 2016-15, Chapter 16, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, with all the recommendations and town ordinances.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, and that's where the late item belongs that you see that's listed on your agenda, amended agenda, is Ordinance 2016-16. This is to increase the number of Class BV intoxicating beverage licenses going from 27 to 28. This is the first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading for adoption to increase the number of BV licenses from 27 to 28.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the consideration of the petition of Ben Luke, doing business as Bristol Buffet, 180 Mount Hope Avenue, request council consideration for a Class BV intoxicating beverage license. This is a call for a public hearing to be held on January 4th, 2017.
Move the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item D2. This is the petition of Carol Almonte, PTG President, Our Lady of Mount Carmel School, request council consideration for a bingo license for January 27th.
Motion to grant the bingo license for January 27th for the PTG of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, granted by all state law and statutes attached with it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The next item is the petition of Stephen Cullum, 145 Franklin Street, requests council consideration of accessible parking space in front of his residence. This is the first reading for this request, and you have recommendation of the town administrator and director of public works to approve.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is a petition from Lidio Contenti, 21 Westwood Road, concerning his objection to the zoning board petition of Preserves Management Company, Incorporated.
Welcome, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself. I'm related to Mr. Contenti.
Closely related?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Solicitor, you and I had a conversation about this earlier. I just wanted to give you, if you would please give us some guidance in regards to this particular agenda item. So we.
Yes, I would. What you have before you essentially is a petition to the zoning board, which has also been changed with a cover sheet to come to the town council, that the town council do everything possible under its power to ensure that the zoning board denies the petition of particular applicant. And I would basically remind the town council that you don't really have anything that you can do with this. You are the appointing authority for the zoning board, and the town council members should not be taking a position or weighing in on a position on a matter that's actively pending before the zoning board. The public hearing is still to come next month, and at that point, people will present, and this petition can be presented there, and all 233 people can testify if they want, but the town council really doesn't have a role in an active petition before the zoning board.
Okay. Mr. Contenti.
Yes, I first of all, I want to thank you for at least listening to me. I realize what the constraints are. I know that you cannot comment, and I know that I cannot use pastry shops. I do have in my possession a letter to the editor that's going to appear tomorrow. For courtesy purpose, I'm going to do a copy.
Mr. Canetti, when you walk away from the mic, nobody can hear you in the audience, which isn't a lot, but neither can anybody at home.
I said that I have a letter to the editor that pertains to this issue, and for courtesy purposes, I'm giving you the letter first before you see it on tomorrow's agenda, or tomorrow's paper, okay? There is a couple other things I'd like to say. Number one, you have 233 names, which people in a particular neighborhood signed. This petition had a 95% signature rate. That means we approach 100 people, 95 signed. I can go back and get another 500 if I want to, but what's the point? The point is right now that you get the idea. With a 95% retainer rate, I shouldn't have to go work and beat the bushes anymore. Secondly, I find it very distressing that a situation like this can get this far without having the important people, for example, town council, the town administrator, looking into it before it got to the planning board, before it got to the zoning board. It seems strange that such a project that involves so many people and affects so many people got this far. And if you look at the minutes, I can understand why it happened. People that were involved from the technical committee to the planning board people, they were more interested in the process than they were interested in what the results of the proposal was. They didn't care about what people were affected. They didn't care about what was happening behind the scenes. They were only caring what the proposal was about and what can we do to make it happen. Come on, 1,200 people are affected. You have a letter from the chief of police addressed to the Rhode Island Traffic Commission regarding traffic on Hope Street, and I'm not mentioning pastry shops, just traffic on Hope Street. He states on the second page of his letter, 1, when northbound traffic on Hope Street is bumper to bumper, stop and go from Gooding Avenue to the intersection of Poplar Squash Road. Seasonal traffic during the summer months increased on this stretch of Hope Street. That's all you need to know. It's bumper to bumper. Police chief is saying that. Also, any future development in this area will have an added impact on the traffic flow. Yet, myself and a group of people had to beat the bushes to make people realize that this proposal, whatever proposal we're talking about, is not a very good one. Anyway, I'm reaching a point that I'm afraid to say anything because I'm in a tough situation here. I live on 21 Westwood Road. The house is not on my name. The house is in the name of my sons. Unfortunately, one of my sons is here tonight, and can't even speak on this issue. It's unfortunate that the past town administrator, who was also the safety director or public director, the director of public safety, he signed off on this project. He didn't come up to Fales Road. He didn't consider the traffic on Hope Street. Neither did some of our town planners. Oh, this is a beautiful plan. The contractor, the engineer, is doing a wonderful job with the building. Well, gentlemen, I'm not concerned about the building. I couldn't care less where he puts that building, or the pastry shop. The problem is, it's not the building, it's where it's going to be placed. It affects the traffic in that situation. It increases the public safety. It's tough as it is to cross Hope Street. The damn study was done in December. It was done in December. One sample between 7 and 9. I looked at the minutes of the People's Credit Union. The People's Credit Union that is way on the other side, facing actually Gooding Avenue, that has nothing to do with Hope Street. That traffic study was much more detailed, much more comprehensive than the study that we had for Hope Street, done in December. Gentlemen, give me a break. Give the people of Fales Road area a break. Now, I'm a little rusty. I used to do this quite often when I was in my prime, but I've been sort of away for 20-something years. But I tell you what, something is wrong when a project that affects so many people got this far. Again, the philosophy that we have to do everything for the people that come in with a proposal, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to help small business put up buildings. We are here to facilitate and see if they can put up a building that is consistent with the needs of the area. I have nothing against small business, but when small business interferes with so many people, something is wrong somewhere. And no one in this town, to this date, has taken a public stand. Our Director of Safety has a letter supporting this. Did he attend the meeting? I didn't see his name in any of the minutes. But I saw the names of the town planner. I saw the names of the town enforcer, zone enforcer. I saw the name of the chair of the planning board. I saw the name of the engineer supposedly reviewing the plans for the town.
Mr. Contenti,
Yes.
I'm okay. I wanted to allow, and I think it's appropriate, you certainly got enough signatures brought to our attention, but I feel like you're going over the line on supposedly.
Well, then I can say.
Let me finish, please. That the people that you've mentioned, I'm sure would like to say something back, and I'm not going to allow that to go on. So I would ask that I think you're doing a great job sharing what you believe, and many believe is a great concern. But I ask that you stay well within the lines of respect. And I think you took that the right way. So,
Again,
Okay.
the people that attended these meetings, in my opinion, did not look at the outcome of the proposal and what the effects would be on the area. And if you look at the minutes and you read the minutes, the evidence is not there. So, in my mind, that's one of the faults that we have with something like this. There should have been people like the police department, the fire department, and we should have had a study that was more consistent with the traffic patterns that occurred up there. And that is not in evidence at all. I can go on and on, but I realize that I'm being... Okay. I'm not naive. I understand where I stand
Don't
here.
think you are.
Okay? But thank you for listening.
Of course.
And I hope that people in town realize that there is a meeting, January 28th.
No, 18th.
I'm sorry, January 18th, thank you. But, okay, January 18th, it's a zoning board meeting. This item will come up. There will be the same petition given to the zoning board. And I hope that all the people in Hope Street, Fales Road area, Valley Drive, and in the rest of the town, if you feel that you're not going to be affected by this, you are wrong. You will be affected by this. Traffic is now backed up to Papa Squash Road on a summer day. And we already had 31 accidents as of, I believe, February of 16th of this year. For the last 3 years, there were 31 accidents. I don't know what happened after the 31 accident. But I believe in the last 8 months, there must have been at least 3 or 4 accidents in that area. So we're probably approaching 35, 36, and I'm getting a yes from the chief. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Of course. So I'm going to just share something on the council's behalf that we would like to share more, whether you are for or against. I won't speak for anyone, nor can we. If we had the opportunity, we would probably take advantage of that opportunity, but state law and ethics do not allow us to do so. So I think that's really important. This is not inaction from the council. This is action that cannot be taken on the council's behalf. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes, that's correct. And also particularly with Mr. Stephen Contenti, the town administrator, he particularly does have, obviously, a conflict with his father's position, so and his ownership interest in the property, so that's why he is not able to say anything either.
Okay.
So, and the proper forum for people to come and express their opinions and produce whatever evidence they have is the zoning board. No decision has been made. There have been advisory recommendations made, but there hasn't been any decision on it. That will be the zoning board meeting in January.
Okay. Thank you. So we need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The next item is your public service appointment section, and the first one, item G1a, is Conservation Commission. There are 3 positions available with term to expire in December of 2019. You have 2 applicants seeking reappointment, Craig Fisher of 25 Sunset Road and Lindsay Green of 73 Union Street.
Motion to reappoint Craig Fisher and Lindsay Green to the Conservation Commission.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Personnel Board, with term to expire in December of 2020. You have the application of Scott Piniella, 100 Peck Avenue, who is interested in serving on the Personnel Board.
Set up an interview? You guys want
It's a great idea.
to? Okay.
You need a motion to that effect, Lou, or?
Yeah, it's what we typically do.
Perfect.
Motion to set up an interview at a to be announced date. But
Perfect.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the Juvenile Hearing Board with term to expire in December of 2019. You have Orianne Lima, 73 Franklin Street, who is interested in reappointment.
motion to reappoint Orianne Lima to the Juvenile Hearing Board.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the Mount Hope Trust Board of Trustees, with term to expire in December of 2018, you have the application of Susan C. Maloney of 72 Griswold Avenue seeking reappointment.
Motion to reappoint Susan Maloney to the Mount Hope Trust Board Trustees.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the Board of Tax Assessment Review, with term to expire in December 2019, you have the Republican appointee Carolyn Breslin seeking reappointment.
I move that we reappoint Carolyn Breslin.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Sub-item F, you have also Board of Tax Assessment Review. This is the alternate member, Democrat alternate Diane C. Medeiros, 6 Jessica Drive, seeking reappointment.
Motion to reappoint Diane C. Medeiros to the Board of Tax Assessment Review.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And you have the Economic Development Commission alternate. This is to fill an unexpired term to expire in September of 2017. Scott F. Piniella of 100 Peck Avenue is seeking this position also. I will tell the council that I believe it was yesterday we did get another person interested in Economic Development Commission, which will be on the next agenda, but if you are so inclined to have an interview before that time, perhaps we could add that individual to the interviews.
That'd be wonderful, Lou.
Would that make sense?
Yeah.
Did I hear a motion to that effect?
Yeah, so moved.
All right.
And anyone else that might come along.
That's it. Take any.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So I say this every single time on behalf of the council and the town. Thank you. Thank you for putting your name in. Thank you for having public interest. Thank you for the people that are already on our boards and commissions, the efforts and the energies that they put in. This council appreciates and supports you. Thank you.
The next item is item H1. This is the petition of Mark Gaudreau, 26 Collins Street, request for curb cut. This was continued from your November 16th meeting.
Kevin, Director McBride. It's my recollection that from our last meeting, this was continued to this one. It was actually on the agenda. We typically have these in the consent agenda, meaning it's a yes, unless it's a no. And in this instance, it was suggested a no, but I believe it was just because it wasn't reviewed. Could you bring us up to speed on this one?
I certainly can. I spoke with Mr. Goodrow several times since the previous council meeting. As recently as last week, I visited the site. I had a couple of minor issues with what he was initially proposing. I had a great discussion with him. He has since decided to wait until the spring before he does any installation on that. A couple of reasons. You know, we're in a winter shutdown now because of the road maintenance and things of that nature. But I firmly believe that we can accomplish almost everything that he'd like to do and still accomplish some of my concerns all in the same. So I don't see any reason why this curb cut couldn't be approved pending me taking a final review of it in the spring.
Is that typical of what we would do anyway?
I think so. I mean,
Typically it comes in front of us.
Other instances, we
Yeah.
did it on, one that was just installed recently on Thames Street. So, I don't see it out of the ordinary.
That's right. Yeah.
This council expressed concern about that at our last meeting because there were, the applicant was looking to do, I want to say cobblestone.
Yes.
And those things have been addressed.
Yeah, he wanted to put in a cobblestone entrance to his property. And my only concern with that was the snowplow damage, and I didn't want to assume the responsibility, or the town assume the responsibility for repair of that. I told him I'd like to set those back 12 to 18 inches from the gutter line so that the plows wouldn't hit it, and he was good with that. And we talked about how we'd cross the sidewalk and everything else to give him a good look for the driveway going in, but he still had to maintain that sidewalk. And I talked to him about the requirements for the bituminous sidewalk. If he was going to drive over it, he's got to do a little bit of work on that. So that's why I believe that he decided to push it till the spring.
Okay.
But we had a good conversation, and he was going to give me a call back when he was ready to go.
Kevin, thank you for reaching out to the applicant. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the DPW director and to receive and file.
Well, I think you should approve, if you're inclined to approve it, you would approve it subject to the approval of the Public Works Director.
So moved.
Second, if I just may add, Mr. Chairman, having a discussion with Mr. McBride, just to convey to the public that when a homeowner gets the consent from the council and the Director of Public Works of going on a public sidewalk, it is a clear understanding that they have to maintain it of the liability purposes, as the Director stated. So I just want to put that clarity out there for people that might be curious of when people do these type of projects going forward.
That's a great point. And if you have questions on this, I know the director is available. You can call DPW and talk to them about it before you ever start anything and get some ideas. So.
I have no problem meeting with them to discuss it right on site, so there's a clearer understanding. And usually we can resolve almost any issue going forward.
That's great. Great. So we have a motion and a second to refer, well, approve and refer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And, excuse me, that would be H2, is the petition of Richard Medeiros, 302 State Street, request council consideration for a fall waste stop intersection at State Street and DeWolf Avenue. This was continued from October 19th. You have the late item recommendation from the town administrator and chief of police to deny based upon some delineated reaning.
Chief, we have that, but could you kind of shed a little bit of light for us on it?
Sure. I ask that you bear with me. I'm suffering from a little bit of a non-forgiving head cold. But the reason for it is we did study that intersection with regards to the petitioner's concerns of speed and motor vehicle accidents. Over the past 6 years, there was only one accident at that exact intersection. And as far as stop signs, as you're aware of through the manual uniform traffic control, stop signs and yield signs are not utilized for reducing speed. So at this time, the decision's been made to not recommend posting stop signs at that intersection. However, the petitioner was made aware that we will continue to monitor speeding in that area, as we do through many other intersections that are brought to our attention with regards to speed. But at this time, I don't see a reason that would warrant a four-way stop there. Stop signs are for control of flow through intersections, not for reducing speed.
Okay.
Okay.
Chief, I was interested to see in the study that it doesn't reduce the speed. If you put a stop sign in, if the person's speeding right up to the stop sign, they stop, they're going to speed right after it.
That's correct.
That was really,
right.
I thought,
That's more or less what they're saying, and exactly the recommendation is that, we just continue to monitor for speeding in that area.
Yeah.
Okay.
So upon the concluded study and recommendation on behalf of the police chief and the administration, I make a motion we deny the request by the petitioner.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is correspondence from Dominic Franco, the chairman of the Harbor Commission, regarding the nonprofit mooring fees. This was continued from your October 19th meeting, and I received correspondence from the Harbor Commission asking for an additional continuance until January 25th.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is also continued from October 19th. This is from Councilman Stewart regarding the discussion with the Bristol County Water Authority and its interconnect with East Providence and or Pawtucket.
I'd like to commend our board of directors for the Bristol County Water Authority as of late with their studies and analysis going forward on the installation of the meters, taking the time, asking the pointed questions. It's appreciated, along with the analysis of the capital plan going forward. I'd just like to make my colleagues be mindful that here in Bristol, Warren, and Barrington, and more at large at East Providence, there have been changes of the electorate. So the conversations of the Bristol County Water Authority, I believe a tri-town meeting is going to be called to include them in the conversations. There might be a difference of opinion on stances from our new colleagues throughout the region of the East Bay. And for us to be mindful that even though the last tri-town going forward with the interconnect and the Phase 2 to the Pawtucket pipeline, that this council has been very active with conversations of not forgetting too so well of the Massachusetts interconnect 2 and the commodity and resource of water here in the East Bay. Once we let it go, that's it. And I know we all have reservations and have your concerns in our best interest going forward for the water. If we do go with Pawtucket, to be mindful of the cost and the rate structure being tied in with the Water Supply Resource Board throughout the state. So I'm looking forward to more productive conversations amongst this council and the other councils and East Providence going forward, even though Phase 1 of the interconnect is going forward. I see, though I'm sure many of us have seen that the water tower is going to be very costly on East Providence's part. And so I just want to continue this conversation. We have to keep this on the radar because water and our rates for our ratepayers is very important. And I just want to be proactive that which way we go going forward. If we do go to Pawtucket, I just don't see, we have this capital plan. We talk about everything we talk about here in the Bristol County Water Authority, and I'm wondering if that's even going to be existing, if we're going to be tied in at that point with Pawtucket on behalf of our residents. So I know they, not to go on about it, but the BCWA has been doing a lot of work with the Anawan Dam for their responsibility in Massachusetts. That was a long ongoing battle. And I believe there are talks, which as a council we have to have these pointed questions at the tri-town meeting, and what those talks are with Massachusetts. I know the chairman had conversations of, you know, when we go ahead with projects, we are giving cost, but those costs change, and we're told that our plant here in the East Bay, it's too costly to redo, and we gave ideas of desalination. So I just want everyone to be on board and to have everything in order, so when we go forward, now that the General Assembly is going to convene, there's going to be a lot of conversations, you know, in regards to our secondary source. So thank you.
That was some great points. East Providence hasn't been on board, and I know they were, I wouldn't say they were against it, but they just weren't willing to be part of the overall cost share, and maybe there's some changes now. I guess it would be a quad town meeting at this point with 4 towns, which is interesting. Councilman, what is your pleasure on this particular agenda item? What would you like to do?
We have to keep this on the radar at all times, so I would say in 3 months, just we can have a conversation. By that time, I think a tri-town meeting, we would already have concluded. I'm sure we're going to be approached to schedule one once we have those conversations with the other towns. So at this point, if we could just continue this item 3 months from now.
To end our March?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
End of March meeting, Lou, would that...
Is it March 15th?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
So I heard a motion from Ed.
I'll second the motion, and I'll applaud Councilman Stewart for making sure this stays on the radar, because
Absolutely.
when I was campaigning, a lot of ratepayers, especially the seniors, were commenting on their water bill and how it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. So I'm glad we're going to keep a vigilant eye on it. So that's it.
So we have a motion and a second to continue to the March 15th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, the next item
We're dangerously close to moving very quickly here. So.
The next item has to do with the town council liaison appointments. Continued from your previous meeting, you have laid out and provided by Councilman Stewart regarding the suggested groups of liaisons. That was all provided to you in email, I believe.
So we took some time at our reorganizational meeting, and we spoke about liaison positions. For all of us and all of you watching at home, the liaison positions are to have a focal point for each one of these groups, a direct contact to the council. Part of the dialogue that we had included asking, is that still necessary? I think the clerk brought to our attention that this was something from the past that was necessary, where there was a board or an organization that had borrowed money from the town and needed a direct liaison. There was no full-time administrator, a multitude of things that go back from years and years. So the question is to this council, and I ask all of you, what's your thoughts on this? What would you like to do moving forward?
Well,
Go ahead, Mary. Go.
well, I had, you saw Ed's, and I think I sent an email out to you all. You know, in thinking about it, I think Ed did a good job in the groupings, and I would only suggest a couple of changes if we were to go forward with that, and that is the library and the senior center to the town government. But I was thinking about Lou's comments about how this was a remnant of the past, before we had the charter, which was before we had a full-time professional government. And so it would be important to have council liaisons to those departments. But now we have, I think, what would be considered we have obviously a full-time government, and I think a very professional government with, very responsible department heads. And, if you think about it in sort of federal terms, I mean, they are part of the executive branch and report directly to, in 99.9% of the cases, directly to the administrator. So they are not going to really, in theory, they're not really going to be coming to the council unless they go through the administrator, but anybody has any right to come to the council anytime they want.
Right.
Yes.
So I didn't think that there was a reason to continue the process. And then what I said in my comments, in my email, was that if the majority of you think that we should continue, then I would eliminate most of the, I would leave it to the government departments and eliminate most of the nonprofits, because I think someone pointed out at the reorganizational meeting that, well, I'm the one who said that in the past, Linden Place and others, we had loaned very large amounts of money
That's
to
right.
them.
You did.
And there was like a direct interest, a town interest. Same with Mount Hope Farm. At one point, we had people on their board. That got to be very kind of tricky. So there are endless groups. I think it was Andy, actually, that said, what about Herreshoff? What about this group? Once you start going down that path that somebody should have a liaison, there are endless organizations in Bristol that would want a liaison. And so my thought about those groups is that a lot of them, our interest is in relation to them being successful, like any business or organization. But a lot of them play a role in the tourism aspect of the community. And I think that they're represented by the various groups like, Explore Bristol, the new committee that Diane has, the business associations and so forth. So I don't really feel that we should go down that path of having liaisons to selected nonprofit organizations and not to all of them. But I don't even think we could put a limit on all of them. So that's my general thought. So having said all of that about if we do it, I don't think we need it for any of them, because anyone can call any one of us up, and that's what I think they do. If they see any one of us at a restaurant or at a meeting, they'll be like, hey, by the way, or if they feel comfortable, oh, Mary, I know you're interested in this, so would you help us with this aspect? Or, I think that's the way it really goes in reality. Or it's coming through the departments and the administrator. So that's my view. Anyway.
Ed?
I think Councilwoman Perella stated the facts of reality, and it's not to be disingenuous. So whoever's watching that may be part of a group, I don't want to lose my liaison. you have 5 liaisons here, because the reality, in fact, is that we were elected to represent all the residents, all the departments at any given time. And, you know, as Councilwoman said, I don't think it's right in the past of, you know, one of my colleagues feeling uncomfortable because they were called and, you know, they're not the liaison per se to a certain group or department. And at the end, it goes to the chairman anyways, and then after the chairman, it goes to the 5 of us. So it's almost like a multi-process of, you know, at the end, it just lies with us anyways. So any concern, and as the councilwoman stated about the departments, goes through the administration and the chair anyways. So I think, you know, the need in the past, and I thank the clerk during our reorganizational meeting to explain that, had its purpose. Why I made the groups is actually to simplify things even more if my colleagues felt there was a need to keep it. But, you know, after doing that and appointing 2 liaisons to each group, you know, one's going to get called. You know, I feel residents feel comfortable who they want to call. They have a relationship with someone they feel comfortable talking to, and I think that's, again, the reality and facts that we're trying to portray. So I think where I stand is probably, you know, in hindsight, even if we get rid of them, we can actually have a 2-year assessment of, you know, did we really do something that we should have kept? And then in 2 years, revisit it and reinstitute it.
Well, it's not an ordinance or anything, is it?
No,
Absolutely.
but you can always assess.
So I think those are all good points. And hearing Councilwoman Perella, you know, make suggestions as far as some of the changes that have happened over time, and maybe the need to get rid of liaisons, and also the idea that we're all liaisons. I think something also to consider is that when everyone's responsible, no one ends up being responsible. So I'm also concerned about swinging the pendulum all the way to the other side and getting rid of them all. And I think Councilman Stewart made some great suggestions as far as grouping them. And I think to consider having groups might be wise, because it's not just existing residents that have relationships with council members, but as new groups develop, as new residents come to town, navigating government may be difficult. They may not have those relationships. So just having 5 groups, as Councilman Stewart suggests: town government, community development, arts and culture, education, state and seniors, might be a way to go in that direction, getting rid of them all, and be a more interim step to ensure that there still is an opportunity, a welcoming opportunity for people to reach out to the council members who they may not have relationships with. So again, not to overshadow the fact that we're all accessible and willing to speak with any organization at any time. So.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Andy. My 2 cents is, if I look back at history, going into my 3rd term now, I think I can count on my hand how many times I've been contacted as a liaison, and then many times I've been contacted by other people that I'm not liaison to the group. So I think we all work as one body here, and I think I would be in favor of maybe holding off on the liaisons for, we'll try a term, try it and see how it works out. But I think when you go to our town website, it's easy to contact any of us that we feel comfortable with, and also we all work and we socialize in different groups, and I think that person is going to reach out who they feel is comfortable about a certain subject. So so anyway, I guess my 2 cents is I would be open to removing the liaisons at this point.
So should we just make a motion and see?
We'll make a motion.
I would make a motion that we try this, this term, doing away with the liaisons.
Yeah.
With the full recognition that that is not precluding anyone from anything. Everyone would be coming to any one of us that they feel comfortable. I don't think it's an issue of if no one's responsible, that if everybody's responsible, no one's responsible, because it's not, it doesn't really quite work like that. In this particular case, I don't believe. I think it's more of the departments have a whole lot of people to go to, and then they ultimately come to us, in regards to policy change. And nonprofits and others would come to the people that they most know. And I think sometimes, just to add one other little twist to it, like if you know you have a liaison, but you're talking to somebody because you're seeing them, then do you feel like, oh geez, maybe I hope they're not insulted because I didn't go to my liaison? Do you know what I mean? So I just think I think what actually happens is people go to the people that they know.
Right.
And that share an interest in a particular cause. And that's more about the nonprofits, I think, in those groups than it is about in the boards and commissions, than it is about the government itself. Because even the boards and commissions, most of them are under some, involved with some department. So that's my motion.
So we have
It's
a
little long
motion?
version, but
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there discussion?
I have one discussion item. I do think that there is an opportunity to inspire leadership based on these 5 groups. So, for example, a liaison with art and culture could be the person who provides collaboration, communication amongst these organizations, not necessarily being in a receiving mode. I know we can all be approached by different organizations, but in a more active role in reaching out to these organizations and finding out what some of the near-term successes they've had and some long-term challenges that they're facing, and maybe there's some commonality amongst these groups, whether it's education, community development, and without that one lens that you're looking through from these individual organizations, we may miss opportunities to streamline and collaborate amongst some of these organizations. I'm not familiar with other paths and mechanisms to see that happen. So, again, I think there may be an opportunity to restructure a few things to foster future collaboration and communication amongst like entities.
Is there any other discussion? What in the past, and for years past, the letter went out to each one of these organizations or departments and shared with them who their liaison was. So I think it's important that we get a letter out to all these departments and organizations to say that we've opted to go a different direction, if in fact it seems to be that way, to go a different direction so they understand that they have the opportunity to speak to any and all of us. And I also know that there are certain instances, I'm looking at you, Chief, I know that there's instances that require, in fact, Vice Chair Sweeney has been the liaison to the police department and sat with conceal and carry permits and things like that. Typically it's been the liaison. I'm sure that we're not thinking of other things that happen like that. So that would be important that those departments or organizations reach out to us, make sure that we deal with that right up front. And maybe we do a rolling window on that, or come up with the best case scenario.
Sure.
Was that because he was the liaison, or was that because that was a choice of? Wasn't that the choice that was made?
My understanding was
typically
I think it
part
was
of the
during my
liaison.
council when I
Yeah.
was chairman. I think it was a discussion with the chief as to who might be the person to do that.
Yeah.
But I guess to
Yeah.
that end,
Yeah.
it would
Good
seem
point,
that I don't think it has to be that way. So to making sure that
Right, just make sure you get those people.
everything happens the way it needs to continue.
Right.
And I think it's also, if we end up going this way, there's an opportunity here for us to maybe go into a department or spend some more time in a department that we haven't in the past because
Right.
you weren't the liaison there. That wasn't a reason not to, but this
Right.
is a reason to now be that much more involved.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, you made a great point of going forward that if we hold off on this for a term of Vice Chair Sweeney's position within the police department for that particular, topic, there's also me on the building committee for the Bristol Warren Regional School District, which is convening very soon by state law, and they asked if I will be continuing that position. So these are type of positions, I believe, as U.S. Chair would probably
I'll
have
work that
to-
out with all of you.
Make those out right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
welcome to the council. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm glad you
There's
fought
something,
hard.
there's
sir.
something
You
about
fought
that
hard,
seat.
So,
That-
yeah, it's really interesting. You fought hard, though. I'll give you that.
I'm sorry, did I miss that? Wasn't a unanimous vote?
That is
Right,
correct.
yes.
Andy
It's
was
it's
against.
4-1.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, all right. The next item is a request for executive session, which I'm sure the council wishes to take up at the conclusion of the public agenda. The next item is bid number 850. This is for the public-private partnership for on-site solar projects in the towns of Bristol and Barrington. And there are 16 proposals
Wonderful.
that came forward, and in looking at them, the council has to realize that these were proposals that were presented essentially by entrepreneurial companies that no two seem to look very much alike. So for purposes of I guess, transparency and the reading into the record, I'm going to let you know who these bidders are, but there was no way to ascertain any sort of financial data that would have been meaningful as comparison. Okay, so we're going to leave that off completely, and then hopefully there'll be an analysis of this, and that can get sorted out. The first is Solar City Corporation of San Mateo, California. The second is Sincarfa of New York City. The next is Conti Group of Edison, New Jersey. The fourth is Sol Systems LLC of Washington, D.C. The next is Brightfields Development LLC of Wellesley, Massachusetts. The next is Grow Solar of White River Junction, Vermont. The next is Solect of Hopkinton, Massachusetts. The next is Fusion, Fewsion, of Barrington, Rhode Island. The next is Wind Energy Development and Newport Renewables of North Kingstown, Rhode Island. The next is New Gen Capital of Warren, Rhode Island. Number 11 is Kearsarge Energy of Watertown, Massachusetts. Number 12 is Cohog Solar LLC of Newport, Rhode Island. Number 13 is Nexamp Incorporated of Boston, Massachusetts. 14, Beaumont Solar Company of New Bedford, Massachusetts. 15 is Energy Partners Incorporated of Providence, Rhode Island. And the last is Amoresco Incorporated of Framingham, Massachusetts.
Wow.
It's a lot.
So,
Sure is.
That's great.
That's the only
Good to
time
have a
I
lot of
ever
good
spent
response.
2 hours in a bid opening.
So,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and Diane, given the scope and scale of this project and the bidders and, the relationship with Barrington and, the intricacies that we want to see this succeed when this is all concluded at our landfill, I know personally I would like to be very involved, and it can't happen here tonight, just like our normal bidding process of, refer to the administration or pick this one. I think, and I'm just addressing my colleagues, that I think we should have real involvement with this bid and, cross our T's, dot our I's, and when we do decide, we decide as a council on this project. That's my feeling.
So who is going to, if I may, who's reading all these proposals? Do you have a rubric set up for scoring them so that even if they're different, like their longevity, their success in other places?
Right.
Do you have a committee for that, or?
Well, I guess yes and no. We have the department heads who were involved in the energy projects, but I do agree that we need to expand it and include council members, town administrator, and also the department heads whose buildings are affected, and the school department, because they've been brought on as a partner with the Mount Hope High School. So right now, the State Office of Energy Resources is helping us to, they can't make a recommendation on any of these vendors, but they are helping us to sort of build that matrix of the different the criteria we did have in the RFP scoring, but they're also helping us evaluate the different components of each proposal, because as Lou said, there were no two that were identical or in any way. So we've got to look at that, and then we've got to look at, the different programs. We've asked them to bid or give us proposals for different options. So within each firm, there's different options that we need to look at. And then, of course, we're trying to match that up with the state incentives and the other programs that we're working with the state on. So actually, Chris Kearns, the gentleman who spoke to you from the Office of Energy Resources, said we should plan this to be a 2-year program. It will take that long to get through it, get it permitted, and get it done. So in answer to your question, I think that we do need to expand the committee and look at it very comprehensively. We need to probably have interviews with the top. In fact, as I'm recalling the RFP, I think we did say we would interview the top scorers, and I don't remember the exact percentage that you had to get to garnish an interview, but we'll be looking at all of that. And then it is a public-private partnership, and there'll be lease agreements if we go forward with that way, so that'll all have to come back to the council. So yes, I see you as intimately involved in this.
And Diane, the LED, and we partnered with Barrington on that as well, the conversion of Bristol with the LED, and that seemed to work out very, very well. With this project, how is it going to work with Barrington? Would it work in a similar fashion?
Right.
Okay.
So we did the RFP together, but that's as far as we have to go together.
Okay.
We can, and again, having said that, I need to look at the proposals. There may have been one that put a proposal that gave us benefits if we partnered with Barrington, but
Okay.
I don't believe they all did that. And so, again, we can separate, we can stay together. It's totally each town's discretion how they want to go forward with that.
So, as a council going forward with you, now that the bids came in and the involvement, I believe, how we want to be involved with this, so we're informed every step of the way, is there a criteria, and I guess the matrix that you have to come up with, would it then be safe to say we should have a workshop amongst us, so it's in that type of fashion, or what do you suggest, so we know exactly how this project is going, step by step, in accordance of who is going to end up doing this project, and all these intricacies that I know a lot of us have to be entailed to?
Right. So the Office of Energy Resources has suggested that we set up a meeting after the first of the year in early January, because I'm also looking to them for some guidance on the best way to go forward. And they'll, as I said, they'll help build the matrix so we can start to do the assessment and the scoring from the criteria in the RFP. And then I'll probably have a better feel for how we need to do it. Maybe with 16 proposals, we can somehow split it up and score it and get back together and review our scores and then call them back in.
Okay.
That's sort of a vision that I had, but again, I've got to look at these again and set up that framework and that schedule.
And Diane, the power would obviously solar power would come in, and then it would power our town buildings, or we would actually sell it back to the grid.
Well,
Is we still kind of determining?
There were different ways we were going to structure it, and
Okay.
we asked them to give us options so that we could pick the best one for the town.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so those were the two. I think there were 2 or 3 options.
Right.
So,
Three.
Three.
There were 3.
so will the state know, I mean, are you assuming that there would be some of that group that would just be discarded automatically, in the sense that maybe they don't have any background in it, they're brand new, they're
Right.
something,
Right. We
are you
wanted-
anticipating
and-
some of that?
Yes, and we even assigned points. It was a point system, and I know one of the criteria was even, where is your office? Do you have a local office? So, we're looking at all of the different, the qualifications, the proposal, the background, the plan for the financing, all of that.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how comprehensive or how large these proposals are. I'm guessing they're pretty comprehensive, right? So I think it's really hard to have, when I've seen a lot of applications, like in other settings like that, you almost need to have like a couple of small groups that each read like 3 or 4 of them, and then score them, and then bring back those top
Right.
ones, and then,
That was my thought on that, yes.
yeah, because it's
I think
very,
you're right.
you'd go crazy, like trying to read through and
Yeah,
wade through,
right.
And, you know, so,
Right, and it's nice to have, just, read it and then present to the others and then get feedback of how it compared, how what you read compared to what somebody else read.
right.
So we're at the planning stage. It
Right.
it
So I
really
would
is of the
say-
project.
Yes, I would say in January, I can report back to you with, sort of the next steps, the scheduling, and how we're going to move forward.
Probably the second meeting in January, probably more so than the first, since
Yes,
that's...
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Second meeting in January.
And so you are the project lead for this all the way through, or is it going to
Well, I
morph
guess,
to other?
You're welcome.
I think everybody else took a step back. We had an...
Maybe the project lead through January 25th, and you can decide if you want to move forward from there.
Right.
Is that fair?
We've been doing this sort of in
I
a
think it's the
team
25th.
effort, We
Yeah.
had,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
department heads have been working on this, with the LEDs and everything. So I know we want to have another meeting of our internal energy committee as well, and we'll let you know.
And I know Chris Kearns from the State Office of Resource and Energy has been a great,
They're a very good
involved
resource.
and whatnot,
Yes.
so.
Yes.
So, we need a motion to refer this to the Director of Community Development and the Town Administrator to report back to us, and whoever else would be appropriately involved in it, to report back to the council on the 25th. Is that?
Very good.
Yeah, so moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Then we have bid 851, and that is for the interior renovations, Bristol Town Hall. We had 6 proposals submitted. The first from Trans Global Construction LLC of North Providence in the amount of $877,700. The next is from ADS Construction Incorporated of East Providence, the amount of $821,000. The next from M&J Construction Company Incorporated of Johnston, Rhode Island, $876,698. The next from J.G. Edwards Construction Company Incorporated of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, $769,000. The fifth from Iron Construction Group LLC of Warwick, with the amount of $756,000, and the final one from E.W. Berman Incorporated of Warwick in the amount of $799,000.
So typically what we've done in the past, as we picked ourselves off the ground, and
I know, it's a lot. What were we expecting?
Got that right, wow.
not that much.
Yeah.
So,
I don't need a massage chair. This
Yeah.
chair's fine.
so I guess you get what you ask for, and we ask for a lot. So typically what we've done in the past is we referred this to the administrator to act in the best interest of the town. What I'd like to do moving forward is still do that, but then also add potentially a council. I don't want to call it a liaison because we said we don't have those anymore. But a delegate, yeah, that's very good. Whether it's myself and somebody else or just someone else, because I want to make sure that we are more involved on how the process goes. And again, the day-to-day activities has to be through the administrator's office because it is a day-to-day activity. But maybe some overreaching information would be most helpful to this council moving forward. I don't know if everybody's amenable to that, but if we could motion it to the administrator, and again, just to keep us in the loop or that much closer into the loop.
I think that
Sure,
in this
but-
project maybe, but I'm not sure that I would
We don't have to do it
agree
in
with
every
that in every
instance.
project.
Absolutely,
But I think
agreed.
maybe in this one, since it's, such a big undertaking.
It's
But
another big one, yeah.
What is the, what drove this cost up? Is it the HVAC and the
Yes.
roof? I mean, what was
Yes.
the big ticket items on this?
We haven't really had that discussion yet, right? We're meeting Monday with...
We have a meeting, that's right. The clerk, the director of community development, the treasurer, obviously the prior administrator, now the new administrator, and I apologize, I forgot, Richard Pimenta, Kevin McBride, DPW director, we're all part of this committee. There was a lot of discussion, and it's really important to point out here is that this wasn't a complete renovation of the place. This was putting insulation on the walls. This was a heating system that is antiquated. In fact, it's only a heating system now, right? It's not air conditioning anymore. It really doesn't work. there's a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up. There was a lot of paint and wiring and those kind of things. This was also, but I think it requires now that we take 3 steps back and say, what is priority one? Certainly would be a heating system, but these are the dialogues and discussions that needs to happen, and I think it would be appropriate to have those and then come back with a recommendation of the council of what next steps should happen, because these were significantly higher numbers than what we were planning on.
I think you would be a great delegate, since you're involved already on the committee.
Yippee. So, yeah, I'd love to, actually.
I just had a question, Mr. Chairman. Julie, are we going to be able to see the itemized estimates of these bids just to see? Because I was thinking, due to the budget constraints, and we know we
Agreed.
just got hit with Byfield and everything else, and I know money's tight, would we want to prioritize maybe some of the items?
We agree.
And maybe just do it in staggered approach?
goodness, yeah.
Yes, that's what our plan is for our meeting on Monday. We're going to take a closer look at the bids, find out what's driving the costs, try and address just really the urgent issues, and then see what else we can tackle, if anything. But we're all feeling the pinch of all of the projects in town and the limited resources. So I think, we need to make sure we've got an HVAC system that works, that our records are properly kept, and then beyond that, we'll see what we can manage, and we might have to do this in a phased
Piecemeal?
approach. Yeah.
Gotcha.
17 of them.
So would then you need to go, I mean, if you said, okay, we're just going to do HVAC, which is like a big need, would there be other companies that would come in if you were to rebid it just as an HVAC system that might not have bid on this whole project?
So I think that'll be part of the discussion on Monday. It's going to, I guess, very much depend on how the bids came back and whether there's some deduct alternates in there. And I know it was changing a little bit at the end. There weren't.
Just
Okay,
two
so-
little tiny ones.
So we'll come back to the council, I think, after our meeting, on Monday, and we'll let you know how.
With some suggestions.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Space heaters, maybe. So, I'm kidding.
I mean, it is close to the council as well, because we did have some, AV improvements and wiring and things, so it's important that you all are involved in what's decided.
So continue to the 4th or the 25th?
I think we can come
We
back
can
to
at
the
least
4th.
give an update, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will be my motion, is to continue this item until the 4th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The next item is the periodic report provided to the council by Alan Klepper, who is one of the Barrington directors of the Bristol County Water Authority. That's item K1.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
There's a motion to receive and file. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the next item is a request for executive session regarding the Bristol Warren Regional School District litigation, and I believe that there is nothing to report at this time, or is there?
That's correct. There's nothing to report in executive session. It is proceeding on the second part of the case on the retroactivity. We have a motion to consolidate, which has not been acted on yet by the court. We do expect them probably in January to be acting on it, and we're already working on preparing the brief, so we're ready for that. Probably there will be a decision. We hope there'll be a decision of the court before the end of the term in June, and hopefully sooner than that, before budget time. But obviously, it's up to the court. But we want to be ready so that as soon as we get the briefing schedule, we won't have to take another 30 or 60 or 90 days to write a brief. We'll have it already done on our side.
Excellent.
And I don't know if you'd asked that this be on every single agenda. I don't know if you wanted to still keep it on every single agenda. We don't expect anything to happen other than the briefs will be filed over the next, couple of months, but we don't expect anything significant to happen that would require an executive session briefing, and we'll certainly request it if anything did happen.
So when would be an appropriate time to put this back on the agenda? March?
Well, I think when we would put it back on whenever anything happened. I don't think
Fair
we
enough.
can identify a time at this point. So.
Okay. You got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to continue until March?
Do you need an motion on that?
No? Oh, no. Okay.
No, I think you can actually you can receive and file this one.
Okay.
So you can
file the oral report.
Yeah.
Motion to receive and file. That is?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I think we were better off just going to an executive.
I know.
The next agenda item are the council member individual agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
I'm going to start and end the same way. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We got a lot of things coming up for 2017, and there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of challenging things, as always are. Budget time's coming up. In fact, we have an audit. We have next week's meeting for audit results from our accounting firm that we hired to do that. 2017 brings a lot of things. The lawsuit was already been brought up, and that outcome greatly affects, as we all know, how our budget moves forward, what we can do if it goes in our favor, and obviously we believe it will. We wouldn't go through these steps if we didn't think it would. Things that we're doing in 2017 are we're going to continue and complete the phase 2 of 10-Yard Brook engineering part of it. We need to move forward with that. I'm working with the administrator, the new administrator, and the clerk and their departments on behalf of this council to help us continue to improve information that gets to us in a timely fashion, to reiterate what guidelines are and what cutoffs are and what deadlines are. We've moved them around a bit to make it more convenient for everyone and make sure we get the information that we need. But we're going to continue to tweak that and make that better and better, so when we come here, there's no late item agendas besides maybe an invitation for something. Marina. Next steps are coming up on continued steps on that. Julie mentioned it. We've all mentioned it. Vice Chair just mentioned it, that challenges with money. We are not taking any steps that are inappropriate. We're going to take all the time necessary to make an informed decision. There will be a lot of public input required, requested, and wanted before any next steps happen on that, and everyone will know what's going on. I've had a lot of questions I'm sure we all have about that. Prudence Island Ferry Dock is something that we still have to focus on. We're working with our neighbors in Portsmouth and also our state reps. And by the way, congratulations to Rep. Ken Marshall, Rep. Susan Donovan, Senator Jim Seveny, Senator Cindy Coyne, and Senator Wally Felag. They all represent in portions or complete the town of Bristol, and I look forward to working with them. In fact, that's something that I wanted to talk about. I want us to, we've always had a agenda that, well, not an agenda, but legislative actions that we wanted to take in the following year. I'd like to come up, I want to have a legislative agenda. I know other communities do that, and it'll help us. We've always had things that we focus on. We didn't necessarily need it or want it in the past. But the school funding formula is something that we have to have open dialogue upon, and that is one of many things. I mentioned Prudence Island Ferry Dock. There's intermodal federal funds that might be out there, but it requires us to work all together to get that done. That school funding formula needs conversations with our neighboring town. It needs conversations with the school committee and the superintendent and a lot of other people, including all the reps and senators I already mentioned. Medicom project. Councilman Stewart has been focused on that and bringing that to all of our intentions. Bringing it to our focus. There's a lot of things going on, and I'm sure he's going to mention a few of them that you're going to see coming up that is hopefully going to help make that a smoother road to travel. And I don't mean smooth on the road. I mean easier lefts and turns and hopefully a little bit less traffic. There's a lot of things, as I mentioned, and this is certainly not an exhaustive list. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I know that we all have certain things that we want to focus on. I would ask that if you have something on the for the legislative agenda, I want to get moving on that in the beginning of January as the session gets up to gear. Our Rep Marshall's already reached out and had a conversation with the governor in regards to the funding formula and how to fairly work it with us and the other communities, not just at our benefit, everyone's benefit. So we're working forward on those things. So as I said, I would start, I would finish, which is happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm fortunate enough to have two little ones, and we have an elf on a shelf moving around everywhere. So every night I got to go home and then I find him someplace else in the morning. So I make fun, but it's a wonderful time. I kid you not. So, happy holidays, everybody.
Mr. Sweeney.
Well, first I want to just wish my esteemed colleague Ed Stewart a happy birthday. It's coming up at the end of the month, and I don't think we're getting together, or it's going to be televised, so I wanted to wish him many more, and keep up the good work.
Golf club.
I know Mary and Ed are going to talk about it, but it's Find Your 4, the Rhode Island Energy Challenge, and again, it's going to talk about efficiencies, take your home energy assessment, replace the LEDs, energy-saving faucets, unplugging those electric appliances at the wall, a lot of efficiencies you can do to help save yourself money. I know Mary and Ed are going to talk about it a little bit more, so I'll let them expand on that. Number two, I know the community's been sort of hit with a shock lately with Pastor Dan Randall. I'm part of the First Congregational Church and the food pantry as well. Eda Randall, founder of that. Well, long and the short of it, if you didn't know the story, Pastor Dan Randall took his life and his daughter's life last Thursday, and goes to show you that if you don't have your health, your mental health, your mind, body, spirit connection, you really don't have anything. So, but I did want to let you guys know that there is going to be a Candlelight Vigil in memory of Claire Randall on Sunday at 7:30 to 8:30 at the Bristol Town Common. And I can speak for this body that our thoughts and prayers are with the community, the Bristol community, First Congregational Church, and the Randall family, because it's going to take a long time to heal from this tragedy. So on a lighter note, just wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and if you can, get to the Blythewald Mansion. They have a beautiful setup. They reached out. They just want to let everybody know about it. It's called Movement, and it's talking about, and it's a setup in their Van Winkle setting, and it's just a wonderful way to enjoy the Christmas season. So I told them I'd talk about it a little bit, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Mr. Tiska.
Thank you. So first, I just wanted to say what a honor it is to sit amongst all of you, fellow town councilors and Councilwoman Perella. It's an honor to be amongst all of you, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 years.
We are too.
Thank you. So just two things. The harbor management plan is on the slate to be updated, and I think that process will allow for input from all of the stakeholders, which is everyone in the community, to ensure that our waterfront has a vision for the next 5 years, which takes into account several new things that aren't in the last harbor management plan, like the Asgado property, like the Prudence Ferry dock, and what's important to the town, what's important to our residents, our businesses, and how do we prioritize those things both timing-wise and funding-wise. So it's an important process, and it's going to be important that there's as much engagement as possible, and I'm sure that there'll be opportunities to do that. Secondly, thanks to Diane and Jessica, who were very involved in getting out an EDA grant, which is a planning grant specializing or focusing on the composites industry, and this grant will hopefully, upon its acceptance, and we're very hopeful, for the first time attempt to capture the size and the impact that the composites industry has in this region. And many of us know that besides for the region, locally here, we're heavy hitters. So with this planning grant and the identification of this industry here, we can use that data by understanding what the needs are of that industry to put together the next grant, which will be an implementation grant. And that's, I think, very exciting because we can take real action as a town and as a community to make sure that there continues to be business growth and job opportunities and great careers for everyone in town. So with that, thanks again. Merry Christmas, and looking forward to the next 2 years.
Thanks, Andy. Ms. Perella.
Thank you. Well, a couple of things, certainly. So the energy challenge, which Ed is probably going to talk more about because he's been the most involved, but we're trying to get 500 signatures. That helps us get to, potential funding or whatever. I think we're about 150 short, but we have to have them in by the end of the year. So given that there's only a couple of weeks left in the year, we have a lot of work to do. So I know that there'll be a letter to the editor in tomorrow's paper, And it would have, I imagine, the website address. So you can go on and you can log on. It's basically simple challenge, asking you to do 4 things, maybe, simple things around your home, like convert to LED lighting, that type of thing. And some of us will also be, I don't know which one of us, and we'll be at Stop and Shop this Saturday to try to corral you and sign up right there on site. And so we're doing the most that we can, and we'd really love to get the number before. I guess the other option is the Snowflake Raffle, which is going to be kind of cold and potentially chilly down there. So hopefully we'll hit our number before Sunday evening. So I'll let Ed discuss more details with that. So stop by, Stop and Shop, and see one of us probably between 9:30 and 12-ish. And then the Snowflake Raffle is this Sunday. Is that at 5, Lou, or Steve, whoever? Pardon me? 5, yeah.
Santa arrives at 5.
Okay. Santa arrives at 5, and that's at State Street and near Thames. And I think that's pretty much all I have, with the exception of I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy Hanukkah, which I think they coincide pretty closely this year, a healthy and happy and prosperous New Year, and we will see you on January 4th.
Mr. Stewart.
I kind of like going last now, because now I can just start on. Chairman Calero, you did a very excellent job with the projects, what this council is presented with, what we have been working on with all the departments, and it's an absolute pleasure to be working with the new administrator, and also you, Councilor Andrew Tiska. It's a pleasure to have you, and I know I could speak on behalf of our current colleagues that we're going on our 3rd term, that we take every project very seriously and cognizant and prudent, and that's why we keep conveying this to the residents, that we have all the projects in front of us, and we're constantly working with them to see that they come to a fulfillment that is going to be a success going forward for the town. And as we have projects like the marina or the harbor management plan, we don't ever want to put the cart before the horse. We want it done right. And that's what this council has been doing, and I'm just very proud to be working with my colleagues and continuing on your behalf to do those projects. Councilman Vice Chair Sweeney, thank you very much for those kind words, because I've gotten used to, between Christmas and New Year's, to just get used to the fact that my birthday's just overseen, so thank you for that recognition. It meant a lot to actually hear somebody recognize that.
To your diary.
So, and to Councilman Tiska's point, we had the privilege to be at Clear Carbon Components on behalf of the town. We have a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Councilman Tiska is going to be a great addition. I know he has the same forte as our previous Councilman Halsey Hebershoff, with his passion and his business-like mind of the harbor and the marine industry and the composite industry. So we look forward to your input and your oversight that we can learn from you, Councilman. As far as Councilman Perella, see, I go right down the line. The energy challenge, yes, we're about 149 short. I want to thank Melinda Howard, the regional coordinator, working with Diane Williamson, and this is a team effort. It's all of us with this initiative, and I know we're going to succeed. And Melinda and her team was down for the lighting, which it was very pleasant to see the new addition of the switch. Of a composite industry, building that switch for us going forward for that lighting. It was nice to see. It was a nice touch. But I want to thank all the residents that took the time during the lighting to sign up with their families. And it's very simple. I know in today's day and age with the technology, everyone's on their phone. Just go to www.findyour4.com. It'll only take 3 minutes. You just identify that you're from Bristol as the sector. You pick your 4, you sign up, and you'll be registered, and you'll be counted as towards that 500, which will secure that grant. So as Councilwoman said, we'll be a Stop and Shop Saturday morning. We also have the team coming down for the Snowflake Raffle, which Mike Davis said 5 o'clock, but there's pre-festivities, I believe, at 4 o'clock with the dances. So we're going to try our hardest, and we just would like your participation and help the town as a whole, because we're all in this together. There's no obligation. Full disclosure, yes, you might get a good email to tell you how to save energy within your house. I believe we will succeed towards the end of the month, and just thank everybody.
Ed, I didn't quite get that email address, that website address.
www.findyour4.com. And with that, there will be a letter to the editor in tomorrow's edition of the Phoenix. I was in conversations with Rep. Marshall. Hopefully the clarity of it's on behalf of the Bristol Town Council and Rep. Marshall. I believe they just had to fix that, so I hope it's going to be published with the correction going forward for tomorrow's publication. And so if you could read that and go to that website also. Other than that, I look forward to a successful year in the budget, and thank Mike Davis, our Sergeant Arms, Archie Martins, everybody who came out tonight, everybody tuning in at home, and I'd just like to wish everybody a happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a healthy and prosperous New Year to all of us and your families, and be safe. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, hold the phone. I just was alerted that Andy's birthday is this Sunday, 12/18. So I have to wish him happy birthday as well. So happy birthday, Andy.
Happy birthday.
December.
All right.
Wow.
I have someone to celebrate with.
Let's quickly.
You got somebody, yeah?
Anybody else? Anybody else? No?
His son.
My son is this Friday. So since we're going through birthdays, my son Ethan Joseph is this Friday. So happy birthday,
all right.
Ethan.
Congratulations. So my son is also on the 27th, and my wife's on the 29th, okay? Happy birthday. I joke, but it's wonderful.
Town Administrator agenda items.
Anybody?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, first off, I'm not normally this quiet, but we had a busy week, the administrator's office, myself and the administrative assistant, Carol Mello, but it was a productive week. We were successful. For the majority of our time, we spent meeting with department heads. As we all heard, there are a number of comprehensive projects going on in town, and I can assure you that we will be diligent. We'll move forward slow and steady, and I really look forward to working with the council. Other than that, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone in our community, to my colleagues in government, those serving in uniform here and overseas, and also Happy New Year. Thank you.
Good. Andy.
We have a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A5 regarding acquisition or disposition of real property, the Gladding Azevedo property.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.